Hi guys, my name is Sarah Lawson and this is my policy persuasive speech. I got my 3 audience members here. I got Toad, I got Stormtrooper, and I got Yoshi. Not really, I still don't have an audience, so let's just go and get started, why don't we? Nurses are the face of medicine and healthcare, but what happens when that face is exhausted? The state of Kansas should pass a law that decreases the number of patients a nurse can see at one time and also decrease the number of hours worked in a single shift. I work in healthcare and I'm going to school to be a nurse, so this will directly affect me in the future. A strong law will help prevent the overworking of nurses. First, I will explain how nurses are overworked. Second, I will explain what this law will consist of. And third, I will show you how a similar law has worked for other places as well. So let's get started. First off, nurses have always been overworked. They are notorious for it and they have a long history of it. What I mean by long is it's been going on since the 1930s and it continues to be a problem even to today. The baby boomer generation is aging, so more nurses will be needed to help with the increased number of elderly and the sick. Tom Papandrea, a writer for nurse.org, says that baby boomers make up for 50% of the nurses that are working today. That's half of the nurses that are working are baby boomers. But soon they will retire and ultimately add to the shortage, so we will need more nurses to replace them. Pascal Kakarian, a PhD, says that nursing schools are having trouble meeting the higher educational demands to produce more nurses each year, so supply and demand is taking a hit as well. The number of patients a nurse can see at one time is too high. Naturally, the patient load varies depending upon the department or what area of the hospital or facility the nurse is working in. For example, a psychiatric ward nurse can see up to maybe 6 patients at one time, whereas a pediatric or emergency room nurse can see maybe 4 or 5 patients at once. The more patients a nurse sees means decreased time with each patient. So the more patients that nurse has, the less time that nurse can spend with each patient. And in long run, that will decrease the quality of health care those patients receive. When patient workload is too high, medical errors occur more often. There's a direct correlation between workload and patient safety. The risk of patient safety increases from 8% to 32% when the workload is above optimal level for a nurse, and patient mortality increases by 43%. So that's incredible. Increased workload means longer hours, longer shifts, more overtime, and less rest. So more exhausted nurses. So after first showing you the problems nurses have each day, second, I will describe my proposed solution. These problems can be solved by passing a law preventing nurses from being overworked. This law should limit the numbers of patients a nurse can care for at one time. This will ensure that the patients that nurse does care for receives the best quality of health care. It should also limit the number of hours a nurse can work in one single shift. This will hopefully reduce burnout and decrease exhaustion on the job. It should also restrict mandatory overtime. I don't know why mandatory overtime is even a thing, but hopefully this law will take care of that as well. Hospitals and other facilities must abide by these rules and regulations, not only for the sake of nurses, but also for the sake of their patients, because patients are their number one goal. Now that I've first shown you the problems nurses face each day, and second, shown my proposed solution, third, I will help you visualize how this will help the community as a whole. Third, one state has actually passed a law similar to the one I'm proposing, and it is shown to be very successful. In 2004, California passed a law that limits the patient-to-nurse ratio. What's the patient-to-nurse ratio? It's kind of what I explained earlier. It's the number of patients a nurse cares for at one time. So that's pretty much what that is. Paul Lee, a professor of health economics at the University of California, states that as of 2015, California was the only state to have a law similar to that. So since 2015, other states have made laws similar to that. So good job, California, for getting the ball rolling. It has documented to improve safety for nurses. Occupational illnesses and injuries have dropped by over 30%, so that's really good. It has decreased time off for work-related accidents due to exhaustion or medical errors, things of that nature. Turnover time will hopefully decrease as well when nurses are more satisfied with their work environment. This will increase overall morale and produce a happier workplace. And in result, patients will be happier as well because their nurses are more well rested and they receive better health care. Today, I have explained issues with overworked nurses. You should be aware of the problems they encounter each day. You should have heard you should have heard about enacting a law that reduces the number of hours worked by a nurse, but also reduce the number of patients that nurse sees at one time as well. And you can see how a law of a similar manner has been proven successful in other states. Nurses have the right to be treated to a fair work environment, and patients have the right to be treated by a nurse who's not exhausted from seeing 20 other patients and working a 26-hour shift. So let's do it for nurses and patients, because overall, patients are our number one goal. So that is my speech. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you very much.